Hey Internet, Eric here. Well, it's Fright Friday again. There haven't been one of these in a long time. Fright Friday is my buddy over on the Horror Freak 85 channel. Every Friday he has a little bit of a randomizer that he has on his phone, and he hits a button, spins around, picks a category, and what it is all you got to do is pick a horror movie that fits into said category. And this week's was Agonizing Anthologies. And basically, all you had to do was pick a horror movie that was an anthology and discuss it. And I had a few ideas in mind, and a while ago I think it was a Fright Friday, I actually did a Creepshow. So I figured, pretty sure it was for Fright Friday, not Slashback Saturday. There's so many of them, I get confused. But I figured, why the hell not? Today, for Fright Friday, if I can get the fucking thing to load, and I can't, there we go. Today, I'm going to discuss Creepshow 2. Now, if you're new to my channel, welcome. I discuss plot spoilers, specific scenes, all that crap. Obviously, sequel to Creepshow that came out in '82. This came out in 1987. Same basic plot, anthology series we're following. Well, this is a little different. It's a little different than what we had in the first one. Um, this one, we have a wraparound story of a boy who meets a, I was gonna say garbage man, but he's a guy working out of his truck delivering, newspapers and this and that to, I guess like a newsstand, and he gives him an issue of Creepshow magazine, and it is like the EC Comics. It tells different tales of morality tales, horror stories, all that jazz, and we have three stories inside here, and I'll get to the wraparound story last. The three main stories are, we have Old Chief Woodenhead, and this story is, we were following George Kennedy from the Naked Gun series. He and his wife, they have this hardware store in this really um, run down, not run down like as in a ghetto, but run down as in like no one lives there anymore, a type of town in the desert. And they are robbed one day by a Native American man and his two buddies, and the the cigar store Indian comes to life to get revenge for their murders. Um, this one, not real bad. I like the effects. First off, get to the acting. George Kennedy. It's weird seeing him outside of the Naked Gun movies, so it was hard to take him serious. He does okay. Um, I like the man who plays his buddy, I guess the head of the Indian tribe of that reservation there. They are buddies. What he does is he gives them like a satchel full of their prized possessions, because George Kennedy's been helping them, through the tough times, giving them like items on loan and stuff like that. So he's really nice. And the girl, the actress who plays George's wife, she's okay. She's not really sassy, but she's very stern, but she's also likable. Um, that's okay. Let's get to the three thugs, I guess you would call. We have the lead one, who is the nephew of the Indian. I guess he's not a shaman, but he's, like I said, the head of the reservation. He's obsessed about going to Hollywood and becoming a star because he has long hair that he's been growing for 9 years. He's not intimidating. He's kind of weird to look at. Um, he's really horrible acting. Um, he sucks a lot, to be honest. His two sidekicks, we have the fat guy who they literally call Fatso. He kind of reminded me of like Moochie Welch from Christine, the John Carpenter film. He's just there to be fat, disgusting. Um, that's it. He has like an annoying laugh. He he sucks. And then they have like the rich boy, uh, member of the group. He's played by one of the actors in Casualties of War. That's got the crazy eyes. Don't know the actor's name, but you'll know him if you see him. Um, he's probably like Sean Penn's second in command in Casualties of War. So, he does okay. So overall, the acting is pretty subpar. I do like the way, as cheap as it looks, I like the way Old Chief Woodenhead, the cigar store Indian, looks when he's moving around. Very slow, very. He's supposed to be wood, even though he moves more rubbery. I'm okay with that because I know there's no budget in this movie. I like the scene where he gets his war paint ready because George Kennedy's painting war paint on old Chief Woodenhead, and the paint can gets knocked over. I think during the robbery because uh, the nephew wants to get like that satchel, and George refuses to give him. Shoots the wife, then shoots George, and then takes it. So I think the can of red paint is spilled over. Old Chief Woodenhead dips his hands in it and then puts on the war paint. That's pretty cool. The gore in this scene or in this tale, very disappointing because a lot of it is off screen, and when it is on screen, it's not very good. Um, Fatso is impaled by some arrows, which looks really cool. Um, when the wife is shot by the shotgun, you don't see any squibs, no nothing. She just stands there. I don't even think you see blood come out until they cut to George, and then they cut back to her, and then she falls. Um, when the rich kid gets killed, he gets killed with a tomahawk. You just see it's the whole shadows and the blood splurt on the wall thing. Effective, I guess. But the major disappointment is when I think his name is Ben. When the Indian nephew gets it, he gets scalped, and this is gonna be cool because he's talking about his hair the whole fucking time. I think he's hiding out in the bathroom. Chief Woodenhead punches through the wall, pulls him through, so like he's hanging halfway through, between the bathroom and whatever room Chief Woodenhead is in, and we see Chief Woodenhead raise up his if it's a tomahawk or a machete, I don't know, and he brings it down, and then it cuts to the outside of the house, and him screaming. That's it. We wanted to see this guy get scalped, and eventually his uncle comes back to check on George. George has been killed, obviously, and Chief Woodenhead is holding the bloody scalp. So that looks cool. But man, I really wanted to see something. But it was a cool story. The second one, the raft, is my favorite one. Two couples swim out into a raft in the middle of a lake. The water is freezing. While they're there, they see this big blob creature, which to me looks kind of like a trash bag. They think it's like an oil slick, and it's eating them one by one. They have to stay out of the water. This one is really good. Characters I don't really like. You have the leader. You have like the smart kid who's not a nerd, but he's a smart kid. Then you have the two chicks. None of them are special. The leader is kind of an asshole, but not too much of an asshole. The smart kid is a smart kid, but not too much of a nerd. And then you get the chicks. So, interchangeable. The reason to watch this one is the gore. The gore is great. Every time someone gets that blob attached to them, their skin melts off. And I'm talking like you see skin filleted off, the red gore underneath. And then their faces and their bodies are encompassed. One is totally encompassed and she's pulled into the water. Another, the asshole, I guess the leader, he's standing on the raft in one of the cracks. His foot is over one of the cracks of the raft, and it wraps around his foot there, and he's in pain, and it starts melting the skin off his foot, and it pulls him down on the raft, and like one foot goes down, but one foot is still up. So eventually, that foot that is up, up on the raft, snaps right up to his body as he's pulled under. And then you have the final girl, who has a fantastic death. She's laying down. She finally succumbs to exhaustion, and her and the smart kid lay down because they have to. They sleep overnight, and they wake up, and she starts screaming because her face is leaning up against the raft, and there's the slit, and she starts screaming, and it's got part of her face, and it's just melting her face off, and the blood coming out of her mouth, and then she just gets pulled away. Looks great, and then of course you think the nerd smart kid is gonna get away. He makes it to shore, and then something happens that I really enjoy. The problem is, and the main reason why I enjoy what happens is, this is a really good part of the stories inside Creepshow. But the main problem is, you have that one person you think is going to survive, and you want him to survive. But for some fucking reason, when the chick that is with him falls asleep and she's exhausted, he just decides to start kissing on her while she's asleep, lifts up her shirt, exposes her breast, starts touching her, gets ready to like suck on her nipple, because that's what you do when you're trying to stay alive when this fucking trash bag blob creature is going to eat you and fillet your skin off. I guess they just needed some titties in this movie. They got it. They were nice looking, but Jesus Christ, what a dumb point to put him in, and that just made me dislike this guy right away. Because what if she didn't wake up? How far would it go? Um, so, still the best of the three stories. The third one is, I would say, the second best. Is called The Hitchhiker. We are following a lady who is cheating on her husband. She woke up late from her usual sexcapades. She has to make it home before her husband gets there because she doesn't know what story she'll be able to tell him to make it so he won't figure out that she's been banging some other dude on the side. And she eventually hits a hitchhiker. He's on his way to Dover. And the rest of the movie is an intense, I guess, race home. And every chance she gets to get closer to home, the body of the hitchhiker shows up. You know, he's hit head on, and it's a hit and run. And lots of people find the body. Like even Stephen King shows up as a truck driver. Um, he has a funny line. Looks like a black guy too. You know, just a funny cameo. Hit and run. Some people call the ambulance, call the police, this and that. And she's on her way home. And every now and then she's driving past, and there's him, mangled face, saying, "Thanks for the ride, lady." He's reaching in the window, grabbing her. There's a really cool, intense scene where he's riding on the top of the car, and he's like going through the sunroof, trying to get her. And all he does is yell, "Thanks for the ride, lady." And he keeps getting more and more damage done to him. His face is getting more and more damaged. Like when he's on the sunroof, she's going down a hill, and he's getting branches hit at him. And then suddenly he gets hit in the face with a huge like tree branch, knocked off. She crashes into a tree. She's driving home, and then of course she makes it home safe and sound. Of course the hitchhiker is there. His face is mangled to hell, ripped off. Does his thing, takes her out. Husband finds her. Hitchhiker is gone. She's got the Dover sign where he was hitchhiking to placed right there. Really fun. Like the lady who played the lady. I don't know what her name was. She was I wouldn't want to say likable, but she did a really good job playing the mistress, trying to get home before the husband got home. Did a really good job being afraid, being strong, I guess, when she was gonna run him down. So really good performance between her, basically acting by herself, other than like the two scenes when she's with her boy toy. So, Old Chief Woodenhead, decent, despite some disappointments. The Raft, great, other than that one scene. And The Hitchhiker, really good. Really liked it. Now let's get to the wraparound story. First off, it starts off in live action. Little boy's riding his bike. He gets like I said, the issue of Creepshow thrown at him. The creep, the guy who's handing out the books. He's played by Tom Savini under a mask. And then it cuts to animation. And I'm like, this might be cool because that's how Creepshow 1 started. It was animation following the ghost of the creep or whatever that ghoul was. And there was no talking. And it was just flipping the pages and stuff like that. Then, this is what happens. The creep turns into one of the characters in the books. Like the Crypt Keeper or the Vault Keeper, whatever. We cut to him in his palace, and he's talking in puns, and I don't like the animation. I think the animation looks like it's right out of Heavy Metal, which I hate. It's, the over-exaggerated facial expressions. Looks really dumb. I don't find the puns funny, at least with reading the EC comics or with Tales from the Crypt, the TV show. There was some personality, with that. None here. It's just lame. And every time he pops up, before the story, after the story, he's just there, and he's annoying. And the story is the little boy who got the magazine. He had ordered some Venus flytraps, and he's being bullied by kids. They take his Venus flytrap bulb and they stomp on it. I mean, the lead bully looks like Rosie O'Donnell with a pompadour to me. The animation is fucking horrible. And then eventually they're eaten by giant Venus flytrap creatures, and it's comical and dumb, and I fucking hate it. So, I really wish they would have just gotten rid of that wraparound story completely. Didn't need it at all. But I will say this overall: do I recommend Creepshow 2? Yes. Is it as good as Creepshow 1? Not even fucking close. But and I like how there's some nods to Creepshow 1 here. The girl that would possibly be raped in the raft. She's wearing Horlicks University on her shirt. That's the university from The Crate in part 1. And Leslie Nielsen was the villain in Something to Tide You Over story in part 1. His partner from the Naked Gun movies, George Kennedy, is in Creepshow 2. So that's kind of cool. But anyway, Creepshow 2, the pace went by fast. It's never boring. I like Old Chief Woodenhead. Love the raft. Really enjoy the Hitchhiker. So I guess you would say good time. Although I just fucking hate the wraparound story. So that's it. I don't know what else to tell you. Is if you love Creepshow, you might enjoy Creepshow 2. It's not horrible, but it's nowhere near as good or fun. So that's it. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe, all that jazz. Check out the Horror Freak 85's channel. Give him a watch, give him a sub, all that stuff. Comment below. Tell me what you think. Tell me if you actually like that wraparound story. I don't know too many people who like or dislike it. They never bring that up when discussing Creepshow 2. I fucking hate it. So, but anyways, thanks for watching. Click the bell, all that jazz. Cheers. Happy Fright Friday.